Welcome to Sawdust and Cornbread. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Sawdust and Cornbread. I'm Laura Lee. I'm outside on this beautiful autumn day. It seems like I was just in the yard saying it was 92 degrees. It was 40 degrees out this morning. A little bit chilly for here in the south. Today I'm going to be working with this reclaimed piece of wood from a door frame. It's about 70 years old, and my goal is to make it look like an authentic hand-hewn piece of wood that can be used in the house on this project. This is part 3 in a series that I am building as I go, and you get to guess what the final result will be. So if you haven't seen the first 2 episodes, I'll post those up top and in the description below so you can check them out. Let's get to work. Anytime that you use reclaimed wood, unless it's wood that you already own, it's going to be expensive. That's because everybody has to go out to the location, strip it off of the structure, then bring it home and remove all of the hardware that's in there. And that's very time consuming. Fortunately, someone you may know if I mentioned his name helped my husband rip out an old door frame. I love the way it has dings and scratches and damage. The more damage, the better. There's something about the look of authentic hand-hewn wood that I truly admire. I can't imagine how expensive it would be, but I know it's not in our budget. May not be in yours either. So let's see if we can make this board look like hand-hewn lumber. I'm excited to see what the results are, so let's get to it. This first part is going to be really hard on me. It's not very difficult to do, but I love this chippy, aged, and weathered wood. But this is the perfect size. It's already been cut to size to fit the project. So I'm going to show you a technique for removing paint that doesn't involve any chemicals. This isn't the first time I've removed paint this way. It's one of my favorite methods. I have done doorways, door seals, window frames, baseboards, you name it. I've used this method a lot, and it's very easy once you get the hang of it. First thing you need is one of these trusty heat guns, not to be confused with a hot glue gun, which I use a lot, and a hairdryer, which I also use a lot. These things are super hot. This happens to be a Drill Master. I'm not getting paid to tell you that. It's just what I have. It's a cheap model, but it's lasted a good long time. It's called a heat gun for a reason. This thing gets hot. And this nozzle stays hot a long time after you finish the project. So be sure to keep it upright and not to put your hands on it. Keep it moving at all times. It's actually a pretty interesting process to watch. Almost as interesting as watching paint dry. I'm going to be using my trusty 7-in-1 scraper as well as my trusty heat gun. I can't tell you how scared I was going to melt my camera. I'm going to take this outside where the fumes can just float away, and I won't destroy my most important tool for making vlogs. Just when I brag that this has lasted a good long time, it sounds like it's about to kick the bucket. Thankfully, I have a backup downstairs. This is my old Wagner heat gun. Fun fact, I used this when I had a skincare lab to melt the tops of the lip balm to make it all smooth. But I won't get into that today. Now, although it says lab use only, it's been retired from the lab, and now it is dedicated to DIY work. Again, you want to move that cord, because if it gets too hot, it will melt, and I guarantee you it'll get too hot. It's hot, 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 hot. I'm not sure how well you can see that again because of the sun glare. I'm not going to touch it because it's still very hot even to the touch. But you can see how it's starting to remove those layers of paint. I will say it does a lot better job with acrylic or water-based paint. There's probably oil paint or oil-based paint underneath the acrylic paint. So I'm going to have to take my time and just kind of go layer by layer to remove all of that. mentioned before, hurricane, I think it's called Ian, is heading this way. Wind is picking up, and I want to get this done before the rain starts. So outside it's windy, there's going to be a lot of dust. I'm not going to take my camera out into those conditions, but it probably looks a lot like this. Got the shelf all blown off, all dusted off and all blown off. Now I'm going to blow myself off. And here's what it looks like after a rough sanding. A little bit of grass stain on it where I moved it around in the grass, but I'll be getting that off and getting some aggression out here in a minute. Now we're at what I consider to be the best part of the project. We get to be a little destructive and take out some aggravation on this board. We got to pretend that all we have is a log that's cut off of a tree and a hatchet. If we only had a log and a hatchet, we're not going to have any of these perfect squares. We're going to have lots of notches to make a slab. Now I'm cheating because obviously this board was cut in a factory 70 years ago. It does have a lot of damage, but we want to damage it even further to make it look authentic, aged, and hand-hewn. You'll notice I keep the hatchet facing away from me. Better safe than bloody. To help give it the look that an old chain pulled it along to the wagon, I found a little piece of chain out here, and I'm just going to put it down and hit it with the hammer. While you can see a light imprint, I would prefer it to be darker. I'm just going to take some water to wet it, maybe soften that outer layer, because this is a much harder wood than I thought it was. Not sure if this is going to do anything, but that little chain wasn't wanting to leave as deep of an impression as I want. So I'm thinking I'm going to create a chain link using this big heavy-duty hook. And I'm going to hammer it into the wood once this soaks in a little bit, maybe softens that outer layer. I'm going to be as still as I can while holding the camera and hammering. Obviously hammering and holding it is not going to work out, but you can see here the imprint that it left. So it does appear that if you wet the wood and then want to make an impression of something on it, create a chain link. Next, I started working on the face surface of the board. I took the hatchet and put very small notches in the top. After a while, I was able to connect those hatch marks to create flat and different shapes and depths of cuts. I've got a lot of hatch marks on here. Now I'm going to take the hammer to it just to beat it up a little bit. Now I took two different size chisels, a wide and narrow chisel, and began doing some little detailed work on the board. That way I could get my hands in there and specifically carve out areas that I wanted to be a little bit deeper. Every deep section creates a different look once the stain is applied. So this offers a large variation in color and depth. And here is the finished side of the hewn board. I love all the texture that's added, and it gives it an authentic, rustic, hand-hewn feel. I may add a few more touches as time goes on. Night has fallen over.